You for being here and spending some time to cover an important event that I think the community would want to be aware of. You don't know how happy I am to report the outcome of the things that we're about to discuss. Details will be somewhat limited. I'll try to do my best job at the end to answer any questions I can, but please understand with this incident just happening this morning, I am somewhat limited on the details I can provide to you. So I'm here today to discuss an incident that happened at the Legacy Traditional School East, located at 9290 East Golf Links Road at approximately 9 a.m. That's located within Operations Division East, here within our police department. Just after 9 a.m., parents at the Legacy Traditional School East reported an adult male acting erratically in a parking lot and immediately notified school leadership. Thankfully for us, a veteran Tucson police officer, William Bill Bonanno, who's been with us for over 27 years, was working at the school in an off-duty capacity as a school safety officer through the use of state grant funding. This state grant funding is made possible through the Arizona Department of Education, and I'll get a little bit deeper into those details here in a moment. He was notified and responded to the parking lot, but did not see the subject. As Officer Bonanno requested additional units to assist, and he started to search the school grounds, as did school leadership, and they went into a lockdown. They notified the officer that the male was located in the gymnasium where other students and school staff were also present. The subject was sitting on the floor and talking to himself at that time. Officer Bonanno immediately responded to that location and swiftly detained the suspect without further incident. The subject was in possession of a concealed firearm and a knife. The suspect has been identified as 31-year-old Daniel Hollander. I want to extend my deep gratitude to the parents and the staff and all the responding officers for their prompt and effective response. As mentioned earlier, Bill Bonanno was part of a program funded by the Arizona Department of Education, which supports schools with trained school safety officers that we refer to as SSOs. In 2024, 24 of our officers worked nearly 12,000 hours at grant-funded schools under this program through our off-duty management partner. In 2025, in January 2025, the program expanded to include 4 additional schools and 4 additional trained SSO officers, totaling 8 schools and now 28 trained officers. Officer Bonanno's swift actions prevented potential harm to the students and staff. The Tucson Police Department's Threat Mitigation Team and Operations Division East Neighborhood Crime Section is actively conducting the investigation. Mr. Hollander will be charged and is in the process of being booked right now with attempted terrorism, interfering with an educational institution, weapons misconduct on school grounds, and first-degree burglary. Mr. Hollander, like as I said a moment, is in the process, as we speak, of being booked into Pima County Jail. The preliminary investigation has indicated that Mr. Hollander was utilizing narcotics for several days, and that he admitted that he went to the school to cause harm to the children. It should be noted that Mr. Hollander did not have any type of connection to the school, nor did he focus his focus today on that school for any specific reason that we know at this point of the investigation. I want to cover for a moment just the importance of having officers embedded within our schools and our community. For over the course of the last 5 years, there's been a lot of conversation about whether it's appropriate or not appropriate to have law enforcement officials within our schools, both elementary schools, high schools, et cetera, charter schools, for fear of pipelining our children into incarceration. What I can tell you is that's never been, in the last decade, our strategy here at the Tucson Police Department, nor do I believe that's the decade of our surrounding public safety partners. And I can't underscore the importance of having our officers at schools to build connections with our students, with their parents, with our broader community, with school leadership. I wish we had the ability to have police officers in every school in America, and I'll talk about that here at the end. But while we don't have the staffing to do that, programs like the SSOs are critical in helping us expand our resources to make sure that we have safe environments for kids to thrive and to learn, and also for our academic professional staff that are at these schools, as many of us have loved ones, and we shouldn't worry more about police officers going to work than we should our academic staff that are at schools and the harm that they might face like they could have today. This is a great partnership within the Tucson Police Department and local schools that enhance safety and security in our educational environments. Continued support and funding for school safety programs are vital to prevent similar incidents and is actively being discussed within our legislature at the Capitol just this week. A little bit of history on the Tucson Police Department's resources within schools. I figured a few of you might have some questions of, do we have school resource officers? We moved away from that program several years ago, of course, in the movement of removing law enforcement from schools. But also that program was a little bit inhibiting with the fact that most of the grant funding was specific to having officers at the schools themselves. And what we know in creating safe spaces for our students are that a lot of activities happen around the schools and off campus, and officers need to engage in those spaces. So some of the original from a decade, just over 5 years ago, of those SRO programs were a little bit limiting in what we found in the way that we wanted to engage our students and our community. We moved to a program several years ago called a student engagement team. We refer to it as SET. And the focus of that is really to engage the youth. We have commissioned officers that do that throughout the city, and we've also piloted our community safety officers also participating in that program. As chief, there's a few calls I'm fearful of getting, or moments that I don't want to be in front of cameras talking about, and one of those I've already been in front of you on is losing the officer in the line of duty. But I think a close second, if not a rival to that, are our youth in our country, in our community, being the focus of harm. As a parent, as a father, as a chief of police in this community, I certainly pay attention to what's happening around the country. There were over 80 shootings at school last year in 2024. 56 of those were on K through 12 schools. So again, I can't reiterate how proud I am of our community, the school leadership here, and Officer Bill Bonanno for his all of their frankly courageous actions and engagement. That's how we prevent bad outcomes in Tucson. I think Tucson is unique. I think we are a special place to live, work, and play. And today's another great example of what happens when we all collaborate and we all work together. And today was absolutely the best outcome. What I will tell you is our focus, and that most of you cover and have covered since my time as chief, as I'm entering my 4th year, we remain focused on gun crime, violent crime, and narcotics are two of the spaces that we absolutely focus on. I can tell you with the preliminary history of this individual, it wouldn't have been somebody that was probably on our radar. Now, more details will come as the investigation unfolds, but I figured that question might come up as well. So I'm going to pause for a moment and just field as many questions as I possibly can with the limited information that I have. Yes, sir, go ahead.
Yeah, you mentioned obviously the charge of attempted terrorism. Was he making, I know you said that he intended to cause harm to the children. Was he making any specific threats when he was on campus, or threats to anyone who was there?
No, I don't have information that he was doing that. What I can tell you is the charges that we have reflect the statements that he made to us throughout the investigation. And I don't want to go deeper into those details because, again, we're in the process of obtaining and serving search warrants right now, and I don't want to do anything to negatively impact the investigation.
It's our understanding that it was picture day on campus, and those students were in the gymnasium, exactly where this man was found. What are you hearing from school staff in regards to perhaps this sort of action to get those kids out of that area?
Right. I don't have those details yet. Here's what I'll say. Obviously, we expect children and staff to be throughout the entire school grounds, right? There'll be more details to come. I certainly don't want to speak with school leadership. They have their hands full right now, making sure that they get their notifications out to their students and the parents, and that frankly folks feel safe to bring their kids back to school tomorrow, which I hope that they do. I hope that all of our schools are filled tomorrow. There's no indication that there's any kind of correlation. This was one person who I think what we're likely going to find out has a substance misuse disorder. There might be some mental health issues on board. Those are absolutely no excuse to be using narcotics to the point where you go onto a school armed to create harm with our students, one of the most precious resources that we have in our community. So more details will come, but I think, to your question, how much do we fortify schools? Do we want schools to look like prisons? I think the answer is no. So it's all but impossible to keep folks from entering a school grounds unless you want it to look like the Pima County Jail, which I don't think we do. I think this was the best case where we have an officer or an off-duty officer resource. So thank you again for the state program that's in funding and investing in our community. You had the absolute best prevention of bad outcomes at schools are engaged parents and engaged staff. We have just under 1,200 dedicated professional staff and commission resources at this department. And we have a population of 500,000 to keep safe, over 250 square miles, and we can't do it alone. I have just under 600 commission resources that work in a patrol capacity, so we need the community's help. This was best case today. I mean, what I would say is best case is that my call to action in this community, and I also have lived experiences with loved ones that struggle with mental health and substance misuse disorders, is they don't have to have a history of violence for you to be concerned. If they are using narcotics or they have mental health disorders, there are resources that can help them. You can call our 911 center. We have mental health clinicians that triage those calls for service in 911. Don't wait for there to be an incident like today to recognize that your family member's not okay. The original wraparound service is your family. And the family knows what's best when somebody's in crisis. And that's the call to action today. As chief, thank God we didn't have one of the first mass casualty incidents at a school in our community, in our country. I can't think of many worse things to have to face as a chief. But today should be a call to action to our community that we all need to be diligent, we all need to be aware, and we need to be paying attention to our surroundings and report suspicious activity. Yes, sir.
You said he was arrested in the gym, correct?
Yes.
The statement of the school sent us mentioned that he briefly entered the cafeteria, but they didn't mention the gym.
I think it's one and the same. I think those spaces are shared. I think part of it is a small cafeteria and part of it is a gymnasium.
Okay.
And yes, they were in there preparing for school photos.
Chief, we're going to take it off here.
Okay.
Sorry, guys. We're out of time right now. Any other questions you guys can send to our office, TPDPIO. We'll try to answer whatever we can for you guys.
We will have additional information for you soon. Just bear with us. Again, this investigation is actively going on right now. I wanted to get in front of a camera and let you all know what had happened. Again, I want to encourage all of our families tonight who watch the news to send your kids to school tomorrow. That is the best resistance we can have is any kind of fear. We will be out there. We will be diligent, and these are safe spaces for your kids to go. So thank you for covering the story.